Well, welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. And hey, Yoshika, I see Yoshika's in here first. As you come in, put your B1 in the chat. On this platform, we are black first. Our goal is to make you richer, smarter, and also happier. And also, B1 means that we put our community at the top of our priority list, and we want to be intelligent. We want to break generational curses. So if you agree with that philosophy, put a B1 in the chat. Also, shout out the city you're from. Let me know what city you're from. And just a reminder, this podcast is on Spotify. If you look up my name, Boyce Watkins, you can find it on Spotify. So let's jump into this conversation. So today I want to talk about Zion Williamson. Let me tell you about Zion Williamson. Give me a yes in the chat if you've heard of Zion Williamson, if you know who the brother is, if you've ever seen him as a basketball player. Let me tell you, Zion Williamson is an absolute beast. Zion Williamson is one of the most extraordinary athletes I've ever seen in my life. He can literally jump out of the gym. He's incredibly strong, and he's extremely capable as an athlete. And he actually is getting paid well because he deserves it, right? He deserves to have this big contract. I think he has a 5-year deal for about $194 million. 5 years, $194 million. So it's about $40 million a year. That's I believe that that's still a fraction of his total income, because Zion is also a guy who I've seen in a few commercials. And so he's got a lot going on. And he also has a lot going on in terms of women. Apparently, there is, as you can imagine, when you get money, suddenly you become much more handsome. When I got money, suddenly my jokes became funnier. Suddenly, women became intrigued with the things I had to say. I suddenly became the most interesting man in the world when I had a little bit of money and a little bit of fame. So I can only imagine what Zion Williamson goes through as a player who is in the NBA, signed with the Jordan brand, signed with Gatorade, as Claude Baldwin is mentioning in the chat. Thank you, Claude, for that additional information. And I want to be careful. I want to be respectful, because the former CEO of the Air Jordan brand, Larry Miller, is a friend of mine who actually came to the All Black National Convention this year. Larry is a good brother and a very smart guy, and I respect him immensely as a businessman. And by the way, the All Black National Convention is going to be in Atlanta in October. If you want to network with upwardly mobile black people who are intelligent, who want to build for the future, just visit allblacknationalconvention.com. You can get a pass for your family. You can become a sponsor. You can become a vendor, whatever you want to do. You can promote your business. People make a ton of money there with businesses. And also, it's a great event for lots and lots of training on everything that black people need. And we put our people first at the convention. It is not Black Liberation brought to you by McDonald's. There are no big corporate sponsors. We pay for this ourselves. And it's a gathering that's absolutely extraordinary. You're going to love it. Anyway, so let's jump back into this. So Zion Williamson, apparently, and I'm not going to bore you with all the details of it, but let me just say Zion had, buddy, this brother's got some serious woman problems. He had decided, I guess, to go on Instagram and show an image of him and his girlfriend, future, I don't know what, mother of his child, whatever it is. And right as he was sort of mentioning all this to his millions of followers on social media, there was another woman that jumped in and said some pretty embarrassing things. She said, I deleted the video of the photographer pouring honey in my mouth because you told me you felt disrespected. And I come to Twitter and see you trending with a thought being pregnant, and you kissed that hoe. Zion Williamson, why you hurt me like this? Why you did this to your blah, blah, blah. And then there was another tweet. And again, I'm not going to dig too much into the gossipy side of it. You can find all that out on some of these other platforms. My goal is to really just give you the facts so we can really talk about the real facts. My goal is to elevate this conversation, because I'm not really here to speculate on Zion Williamson's love life. I'm also not here to explain to you why wealthy men are more attractive. I'm not here to explain to you why men sleep with women, right? This has been something that's been going on for 100,000, a million years since the existence of all mankind. So this is not a biology class, nor is it a gossip session, but I want to make sure you have the information so you can understand why I'm talking about this. So in another comment, she says something about the fact that she may be pregnant too. And she's kind of trolling Zion right now, particularly in light of the fact that she feels hurt. And and that Zion is sporting and showing off the woman that he really wants to be with, which isn't her. And apparently he had the grand plan, at least according to her, to move them both to the same city, which I don't really know. I think he might need to sit down with somebody and get a strategy session on how to manage his life. But I'm not here to judge. Now, why am I talking about this? Why am I talking? Let's jump out there. Let's hit that elephant in the room so we can be clear about this. Because some of you may be new, some of you may not understand. You may say, well, if this guy has a PhD in finance, why would he be talking about something like this? Why would Dr. Boyce, a professor, be talking about this guy, it's Zion Williamson, and his girlfriends, and the fact that his girlfriends might both be pregnant or whatever? Why is he talking about this? Well, let me tell you why I think this is an interesting topic. This topic is interesting to me for two reasons. One, I'm a black man. I've been a black man my entire life. And I can tell you, as a black man who has reached OG status, I see millions of men ruining their lives because they have no discipline, right? That's the first reason. I'm concerned in general about the culture. I think that as men, we're not encouraged to have the strategic thinking necessary and required to protect the wealth that we acquire. So then next thing you know, you done got 6 girls pregnant and you're crying in child support court because you can't afford the bills. Well, my point is to say that as much as we talk about the investment of money, you have to understand that your biggest investment is not your money. Your biggest investment is your seed. It is your life. It is your choices. So if you are planting your seed in a bunch of places that it don't need to be planted, then you can do all you want with your money, because all you're doing is setting yourself up to get robbed later on down the line. Give me a yes if you follow what I'm saying. If you are out here acquiring tons and tons of wealth and you are making sloppy choices and laying down with any woman with a nice booty that comes along, then you're going to find yourself broke. You're going to lose everything. You're going to feel at the age of 40 as if you worked your whole life and had nothing to show for it. Can I get an amen in the chat for anybody who's seen this? Have you ever seen that poor guy who busts his butt, works his butt off, but then he's being driven crazy because he's got 14 babies mamas all buzzing in his ear like little bees, and he's feeling sorry for himself when really somebody should have sat him down and helped him understand this game called life? So that's Uncle Boyce talking. And I hope it's okay if Uncle Boyce comes in the conversation every now and then, because Uncle Boyce is as interesting as Dr. Boyce. I think Dr. Boyce will bring you the finance. Uncle Boyce is going to bring you the facts, right? Dr. Boyce will bring you the economic angle of everything you need to know to be an expert on money. But Uncle Boyce is going to bring you that real in terms of what it really means to be black. Right? Uncle Boyce and Dr. Boyce have to work together, because you cannot have one without the other. You cannot just focus on acquiring wealth without also understanding all of the strategic decisions that a black man must make in order to protect the wealth that he has acquired. Give me a yes if you get what I'm saying here. This is very important to understand this. So let's get back to Zion Williamson, and let me talk about the second reason why I brought this topic up. Zion Williamson is not a broke man. Zion Williamson, the reason that this woman and these other women, and the many, many dozens of women, I'm sure, hundreds of women that are interested in him, are chasing him down, is not because he's a handsome guy that can dunk a basketball. That might be part of it, but also he happens to be an NBA player. And one thing that you have to understand about groupies, or women that are heavily attracted to men that have wealth and power and status, is that they are very intelligent. There is a lady, I forgot her name, that Deion Sanders brought to Jackson State. I forgot her name. Somebody say her name in the chat, please, so I can remember her name. And this lady was as smart as a rocket scientist. And I mean, I'm talking about calculated. Would study the NBA players' contracts, knew how much money they made, knew what he liked to drink, know what the man likes to talk about, knows how to strategically corner the man into any situation she wants them in. And she literally straight up said, Brittany Renner, thank you, Brittany Renner. She literally said, athletes are stupid. She did the best public service announcement I've ever seen in my life. Brittany Renner got on Instagram and basically explained that athletes are so stupid, you can easily walk up to them, and taking their money is like taking candy from a baby. This is a lady who has gotten rich tricking athletes into sleeping with her, because some of us never learned how to recognize a wolf in sheep's clothing. In fact, Shaquille O'Neal was going to dinner with Brittany Renner the other day, which shows that, that sometimes as men, as strategic and as intelligent as we might be in some situations, there are some scenarios where we just haven't evolved in the level that we need to. It doesn't mean that Brittany Renner isn't gorgeous. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be tempted by it. It doesn't mean that she's not an attractive lady. She's a very pretty lady. You can stare at her all day. The problem, though, is that if you get too close, she is a virus, literally and figuratively. Literally and figuratively. She is a spiritual virus who will literally destroy your spirit. She is a financial virus who will poison your money and take all your bread. And she might have a couple of STDs, given that this lady has had unprotected sex with tons of athletes who also have unprotected sex with tons of women. I ain't got to be a math teacher. I am a math teacher, but I don't need my master's in mathematics to explain to you just the sheer health consequences of what you're seeing in the culture. This is the culture that's being promoted. That the problem is that they promote the pretty stuff. They show you the pretty girl and the guy in the Lamborghini and all the cool stuff that you see in the rap videos, but nobody shows you what these people feel like when they go to the doctor and the doctor says, "I'm sorry, sir, but you have HIV." That's the real. That's the Uncle Boyce talking. That's the part of the conversation. For whatever reason, I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe STDs aren't sexy. I don't know why. Why do you think they leave those out of the music videos? Does anybody know? What y'all think? What do y'all think? So when I see stuff like this, and again, this lady, that Zion's hanging out with, she happens to be a porn star. She, she apparently she has like like Liam Neeson said, when Liam Neeson said in that movie where his daughter got kidnapped, where he said, "I have a very specific set of skills." She apparently has a very specific set of skills, and she makes money from those skills by doing those skills on video. Zion's kind of just screwed, right? He's in a really messy situation involving all these women. And so I'm gonna break more of this down for you. If you could, please do me one favor real quick and hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, share, subscribe. And I want to give a thank you to one of the people that helped sponsor this podcast is Aisha Verzi. She is a product of the Black Business School. She's a financial planner, wealth expert that can help you with everything from insurance, index universal life policies, all this stuff. Her phone number is right here on the screen. It's 626-340-5746, 626-340-5746. So thank you, Aisha, for helping us to make this possible. And if you would like to have us shout out your business, just go to drboycefinance.com. That's drboycefinance.com. All right. So let's get back to Zion Williamson and why I felt the need to take the risk of talking about a topic that I know some people are immediately going to assume we're discussing for gossipy reasons. So let me help those who don't understand why this is a concern. So you have this guy who right now publicly he's stuck between these two women, and one of the women, the one in the red dress, the porn star, is seeking to kind of throw salt on the game or pee in the Kool-Aid of Zion's public display of affection with the woman who's apparently having his child. And so what she's doing here is something that this is a privilege. This is, they always talk about male privilege and white privilege, but the truth is that there are some female privileges that women get. Let me tell you one thing about a female privilege. Tell me, give me a yes or no. Have you ever seen any scenario where a woman was publicly shamed on social media by a man that she slept with? Do you see any example where a woman, because remember, Ime Udoka was the coach of the Boston Celtics, and he slept with a white lady on his job. Y'all remember that? Well, Ime Udoka will probably never work in the NBA ever again. He lost his entire career. He lost his whole life's work because he committed the heinous crime of having sex. How dare he? How dare he accept the advances of all the women that are trying to hit on a man who's 6'8" and has millions of dollars in the bank? Like, how dare he respond to that? How dare he get caught sleeping with a woman, right? And so effectively, what's interesting to me is that this sort of shaming, we can easily identify scenarios where a man is abusive to a woman, right? That tends to show up in him punching her or him doing something very aggressive toward her. What we don't talk enough about are scenarios where women publicly abuse men. And one of the forms of female abuse that some women might render onto a man, and you need to warn your son. If you have a son, a nephew, a little brother, you need to warn them about this. One of the forms of female abuse and retaliation is when a woman has her feelings hurt and feels that because her feelings are hurt, that gives her the right to destroy everything that he has. That gives her the right to go on social media, talk about who he slept with, all this other stuff. Now, to put it in context, I'm going to ask you all a question. Hey, give me a yes or no. Let's say that you slept with someone. Let's say you were secret lovers with somebody. Let's say Ime has a job with Houston now. Well, good. I didn't know Ime. I thought Ime was okay. Is he with Houston? Good. I'm so sorry for that. Forgive me for. Let me Google that. That I did not know Ime. I'm happy about that. That really makes me happy. See, y'all stopped me in mid sentence, and so I gotta look that up. Is he the head coach in Houston? If he's the head coach, and that's great. That's a smart move for Houston. I'll tell you that, because the Celtics would have been in the championship if they hadn't fired their good coach. So what do y'all? Is he the head coach? Answer me in the chat. If he's the head coach, like what's his position? Is he a head coach, assistant coach, or what? He's the head coach. Oh wow. Then you know what? I was totally wrong. But either way, though, I personally think that his reputation has been scarred. I believe that his reputation has been kind of harmed in a way that wasn't appropriate. And you know what? And I got that wrong. I'm so sorry. I hope you can forgive me for getting this information wrong. Yeah, he was introduced on April 26th as the head coach of the Houston Rockets. Good for Houston. Smart move. Trading that one guy with the beard. I forgot. You know what I'm talking about. The guy with the beard that shoots that loves to shoot but can't play no defense. That was another smart thing y'all did, because he was never gonna win y'all no championship. He doesn't have a champion's heart. But Ime will get you guys back to the finals. I just hope Ime learns how to have some discipline, because you have a problem here where men can easily be destroyed for what they're doing in the bedroom, and I honestly don't think it's right. I think it's wrong. I think it's absolutely. I think it's because again, imagine ladies, imagine if every time you slept with a man, you had the risk that that man was gonna go on social media and tell everybody about it. Tell your friends, tell your boss, go to your job and send out an email and tell everybody at your job what you did. Like, that wouldn't be appropriate. That's not appropriate at all, right? So I'm going to tell you, this is inappropriate behavior. But that's the world that we live in. That's the world that we live in, and so it is what it is. And somebody says, it's and yeah, is it cheating? Yeah, probably. But I'm gonna tell you what. Again, I just tend to be from the old school that says that what you do privately should be private. And I also think that there's something to be said about being intelligent about who you allow into your life, right? And so with this brother here, one of the rules that he's violating, in my view, Zion Williamson, is the fourth rule of wealth accumulation. I remember I mentioned to you all that the four rules of wealth accumulation are: one, you have to learn where the money's at. A lot of people want to build wealth but don't have any idea where it's located, or they don't spend any time training on wealth. And I don't understand how you think you can accomplish something when you've never taken the time to actually learn how to do it. That's like me saying I want to be a plumber, but I've never taken a plumbing class. That's kind of crazy. After you figure out where the wealth is located, you have to make a plan. A lot of people have no plan. Ladies, if you marry a man that has no plan, then that's not the man for you, because that man's plan is to fail. If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. The third thing you have to do is you have to execute your plan. A lot of people have plans. They talk a good game. They learn what they need to learn, but they don't actually have the follow through. They don't make a move. People that don't make a move don't get anywhere. They're like a beautiful car that's sitting in the garage. But if you are making your move, then you will accumulate your wealth. The fourth rule of wealth, which is extremely important, which I think Zion might be violating here, is you have to protect your wealth. And protecting wealth isn't just about trust and estate planning. It isn't just about things like insurance. It's also about things like choosing who your friends are. It's about choosing who you choose to sleep with. It's about choosing who you choose to marry. Wealthy people are extremely particular about who they marry, who they allow into their family, because they don't want just anybody in their family taking away their wealth. So effectively, with this guy, with Zion, I really wish Zion, I wonder who his mentors are. I wonder what's going on in terms of his father or stepfather. I believe he has a stepfather. And how does the stepfather feel? What advice is his stepfather giving him? Because at the end of the day, if you are not careful, then you can effectively end up working your butt off and making a ton of money and then losing it all. And then the person who gets half of that money or 60% of that money is somebody who never took one dribble on a basketball court. That is absolutely crazy. But the reality is that for men, there tend to be four things that bring a man down. Four things that if a man does not have discipline in these four areas, he will lose it all. The four areas are sex, drugs, alcohol, gambling. Sex, drugs, alcohol, gambling. I can point to you 1,000 examples in each of those four categories where you had a man who had it all, who did not have discipline in one of those four areas, who lost it all. Allen Iverson, for example, his big problems, from what I understood, from what I was sort of seeing and reading, had a lot to do with alcohol and a lot of gambling. He would go to the casinos a lot. As far as drugs, you saw DMX die at a very early age. DMX could have been a billionaire. DMX came into the music industry as the biggest artist that anybody has seen, probably maybe even since the Beatles. He was the only artist I'd ever seen that had 2 number 1 albums in his first year out. DMX could have written his own checks, but DMX, because of drugs, the drugs brought him down. And you see this all in your family. Give me a yes in the chat if you have anybody in your family that's been taken down by drugs. Drugs just destroy everything. I'm very anti-drugs. I don't understand why we as Black people for any second allow hip-hop artists to promote drugs to our children while their brains are still developing. A kid whose brain is still developing, who gets hooked on drugs, is damn near doomed for life, right? So ultimately drugs. And then the last one, sex. We mentioned sex. Men have always liked a beautiful women. There's nothing wrong with that. I understand Black women are gorgeous. I mean, look at this lady. We could give her props. Both of these Black women are just so pretty. And, and I understand. I totally get it, man. I totally get it. But I'm going to tell you what, it comes with a price. This lady, remember, this lady is a porn star. She sells her body for money. She's for sale. If you have enough money in your pocket, you could get access to all of that. So the thing about it is, what kind of price are you willing to pay? And it sounds to me like he's going to pay a big price. And so I will say this. I think mentorship matters. A guy I wish that was mentoring Zion Williamson about choices off the court is I'm gonna show this guy, and this guy is a complete simp. Everybody likes to use the word simp. I'm gonna point out a guy who some of y'all are gonna call a complete simp because he's not out sleeping with a bunch of women like this. He doesn't have a bunch of girlfriends. He ain't got a woman in every state. He's a simp according to some of y'all weak ass men out here. This simp is named LeBron James. LeBron James, who some pathetic men will call him a super simp. You know why they would call him a simp? Well, because LeBron, King James, one of the most dominant basketball players in the history of this world, could have had a girlfriend in every city. He could have hopped from woman to woman. But instead, this simp decided to marry the girl that he was dating since high school. This simp behavior, so-called simp, right? We call this simping. This tells you how backward your culture has gotten. This tells you what hip-hop has done to the minds of some Black men. This so-called simp is sitting there taking pictures with his family. Why would you do that when you could be out at the strip club? Why would this guy be, doing things like this? My Lord, taking care of kids and being good to his wife and choosing one woman over all the women he could have had. Well, a lot of it is because LeBron is smart. Like I think he's earned the title King James, because part of being a king is having masculinity. And a big part of masculinity that a lot of men don't understand is that masculinity means that you are protecting something. Masculinity means you are responsible for something. Masculinity means that there are some group of people out there, some women, children, and others, where you're holding it down. And so LeBron James on the court, his masculinity was when he went back to Cleveland, where he didn't have to go to Cleveland. He could have played for the Knicks or the Lakers at the time. He went to Cleveland and said, I want to win a championship for my city. And he single-handedly, if you know sports, you know what I'm talking about. He single-handedly went to Cleveland and willed their way to a championship. They were not supposed to win that title. He willed their way to a championship. So because he was responsible for the city of Cleveland and he wanted to hold it down for his city. Well, also LeBron, the masculinity he shows off the court is he's holding it down for his family. So this lady could wag all of her good stuff in front of a man like a LeBron, and he might look at it and say, wow, you really look good in that outfit, but you ain't got nothing on Sabrina. You ain't got nothing on my wife. And a lot of this is important from a strategic standpoint. There's a reason why LeBron's a billionaire. There's a reason why LeBron, by the time he's done, is going to be worth probably about $5 to $10 billion. The reason is because he has been strategic and intelligent in his thinking. He had one wife and he had children by the same woman within the context of a family instead of having a string of babies mamas and kids splattered all over the country. Those things are very costly, very expensive. And so ultimately what I would say to any man that's watching this or anybody who has a black man in your life that you care about, teach them the importance of sexual discipline and how that is a critical factor. In fact, I would say sexual discipline is as important as whether or not you invest when it comes to building wealth. Sexual discipline is as important as education. That discipline is as important as almost anything else you're going to do. You choose the wrong women, you're going to just lose it all anyway. So you might as well not even try to accomplish anything in the first place. That's my 2 cents. I don't apologize for it. Again, you're welcome to disagree. That's fine. I wish you the very best in whatever strategy you take in life. I'm not really talking to the people who ain't listening. I'm talking to the ones who are. So anyway, guys, I'm going to get on out of here. God bless you. This podcast is on Spotify. If you look up Boyce Watkins on Spotify, you can find the Dr. Boyce Breakdown on Spotify. Also, don't forget the All Black National Convention's coming up. We're going to be in Atlanta at the Marriott Marquis Hotel October 20th. And so it's going to be really amazing. It's a great gathering of intelligent black people from around the world. So if you are B1 and you're into that kind of thing, join us. Just visit allblacknationalconvention.com. And also I want to mention another black-owned business that is in Atlanta that I really love. It's a spa owned by a black woman named Lynette, and it's called Elevated Wellness. And her website, I encourage you guys to go check it out. It's Elevated Wellness for You, the number 4, elevatedwellnessforyou.com. If you go to the spa, tell her I sent you, and she'll treat you well. And she's a super cool lady. And so God bless Lynette, and God bless all of you that are building black-owned businesses. I want to see you win. I want to see you succeed. I want to see you get wealthy. So anyway, speaking of wives, my wife just brought dinner home, so I'm going to go spend some time with her, and I hope this conversation was helpful to you. I wish you all the very, very best. And Zion, man, if you see this video, if you ever want my 2 cents, you're welcome to call me. I'd be happy to tell you what I know because I understand temptation is hard, especially when you're young. But man, ooh, buddy, you're in a really vulnerable position, and you're going to have to be strategic to deal with all this. So anyway, take care, guys. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you soon. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones too late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.